Yeah.
And
All right. Podcast lads. So our special guest this week, none other than SMU alumni, pledge class brother of mine, TJ Kleinert. He just
yes,
got engaged as well. Or just, he just got engaged, and so we congratulate him. Oh, damn,
yes,
I'm showing the bling, showing the bling.
I'm
Um,
gonna.
so TJ, you've been on our pod one time before, and the
I
bling gets
did.
you again.
Correct.
Um, and I don't remember that one. But yeah, you've been itching to
Yeah,
revisit to get back on. And
yeah,
so we're gonna go into some things on the pod today, like we've talked about. We're reviewing a movie in each podcast now. The one for this week, we all got our homework was Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. And then we also, I think all of us watched the behind the scenes
yeah.
featurette that we do for all David Fincher movies. We'll get to that. But real quick, do you have any ideas going into this? If you don't, fine. We got stuff we're gonna go over. But TJ,
I uh remember we did this with it was during the pandemic
was it?
with Wedding Crashers. Remember we did a little
Yeah,
Classic.
we do.
rewatchable pod.
You and I
Yeah,
talked about that. Hey, maybe we do like a movie podcast too.
yeah, yeah. So I don't know. I think like break
Wow.
it down in context the movie, uh
But
the
all
acting.
right, you're cut off. You're done. Your opportunity's over. That wasn't good enough. What I would assume you'd want to talk about, because your TJ's always hitting me with texts about like, dude, I heard on the pod you're like working on this movie or something. How's that going? And how's this going
Yeah,
and everything. So I imagine, dude, you're very cool about caring about our humble Hollywood goings. Even though
yes.
they could be less flashy at this point than how you and our other friends from college are doing in the business world. Takes a little slower burn in the Hollywood stuff, but very I appreciate that you care.
I
Yeah,
did.
let's go over some of the stuff Jacob and I are doing, and I'm curious your thoughts on it
Yeah.
from the civilian perspective.
Is the floor Jacobs or am I?
That's it. Either of us have a
Are
couple.
you asking as far as like what? First of all, I'm flattered, TJ, that you're listening to the pod. That's
I love it.
awesome. I appreciate it, bro.
Yeah.
Um, are you asking Duke about his opinion on like the business stuff, or are we still on the movie?
Yeah. I just or like what you see from like y'all's perspective because I find this so fascinating.
Mm.
This weird period we're in. Uh, whether it's streaming, the economics of movies and shows, the incentives, the fact like uh a bunch of shows not being renewed and like what
Yeah.
the mistakes people in Hollywood are making. And I just think it's so interesting. And uh, I feel like from my perspective, I don't know. I feel like these are, it's much different if you're like making the decisions, but I feel like there's just so many things being done terribly
Hmm.
uh, that I don't know. I just love the topic, love,
Yeah.
uh,
Right. The state of where it's at.
yeah. And it especially with just Uh, like, dude, do you have YouTube TV? Like, what do you watch or do? Like, when it
Um,
comes to,
I know I don't really watch stuff too. I mean, I do more than my roommates, my two roommates. Everyone, we kind of came out of like the golden age of TV and everything, and there's so much money being put into streamers and really high production value for all these things, Netflix, Apple TV, Hulu, etc. But at the end of the day, it's like, what do people watch? I humbly, when I go home, most people our age, they're saying in business podcasts, are either watching sports or they're watching women reality TV. Or
yeah,
like for me, like I love my like Shark Tank, Impractical Jokers, Seinfeld,
but things that have all existed, like not new, essentially.
totally. And like stuff that I
Same.
know is gonna be satisfying.
Right.
I don't have time to like go on a 6 hour sojourn on this new like artsy TV show that's gonna be boring as shit.
I
Yeah.
don't. I'm trying to think of the last new thing I've
All right. So
watched.
that being said, there's like a bunch of stuff that I've kind of right now. I just started last night the new documentary on Leonardo DiCaprio. It's freaking awesome so far, which I think his stuff's hot and cold. But
That's
um,
like a documentaries in its own
yeah,
category.
no, it's a different category. But What else was I watching recently?
Like, so I tried what was the one with what's his face? He was on the OC.
Yeah,
And then
Adam Brody.
that
Yeah.
so that was good. I don't think I finished it, but like that was the first thing that was new that I tried in a long
And
time. And
apparently
like
great reviews. It's like
like
ravaged the
good
scene.
acting. It's good. It's good. It is like charming.
Soulful.
But again, like I like the instinct is to go back to watch something
Mhm.
comforting, and nothing's really that good.
Because I think
And I feel
forever
like I'm in this
most
period
stuff
where
is
it's like I'll never care about a show like I did Thrones or Breaking Bad, and I feel like I've
well,
just accepted that.
I mean,
And it'll
yeah,
never be a
simply,
monoculture like there's no one's gonna watch the same thing to that extent.
I
I
don't
think
agree. I think it is a fun thing with the tentpole shows that everyone's watching them at the same time. I even go to the extent of like I'll watch them just because my friends are watching them and I
right.
don't like them. Just so we can all debate
But I
and
don't think
talk in
there's gonna
group chat.
be something comparable, and then the way that streaming and the incentives there is like I don't know if there's gonna be a singular gripping thing that everyone
Of course I will.
watches, or it's just like
Uh,
it's
so
I
what
don't
I've
know
been
what your
watching
thoughts are
is
on like
Slow Horses was like delightful, I thought.
I've heard that was good, but it's just like it and were those all released at the same time too? And I don't know what your thoughts are on
There's a
shows
new
that
episode every week,
okay.
and it's
You didn't like the Penguin, and that's what was
so the Penguin's a new big show. All my friends are watching it. I would love to love it. First episode I watch on it's on Max. It's like, oh my gosh, Batman spinoff made with the same grit of the new Batman movies and like authenticity and charm. And Colin Farrell, who's normally a very serious, very artistic actor, is doing this. So it's going to be legit. And everyone's like finding it very entertaining. Dude, I watched the first episode. You couldn't even tell it was a superhero Marvel thing, which generally
which
could
is
be
good
good. So that could be good to me, humanizing or at least giving dimensions to
to a
a
villain.
character,
Mhm.
to a villain, but also just
Other
honestly like a world. Let's just say the world where superpowers exist, which they've been doing recently. They've been trying to do with like the boys and all those shows.
right.
Um, However, when you take that away from that character, Penguin, what you're left with, the only thing I identify him in the Penguin label, and he's supposed to be like a mafia gangster in New York City, Gotham. Is literally his label Penguin comes from him having a limp and he waddles.
Yeah.
Which okay, fine. But what were they talking about in the writers' rooms and stuff? So what was really good? The crux going to be on the show. Okay, it's a show about if it's not about superheroes and villains, it's not a show about like he's this half penguin, half thing, which could have been stupid, whatever. What's it about? It's literally a show about this mafia guy in New
How many
York.
episodes did you watch?
First, watch the full thing. And literally in the first, it just was all the cliched tropes of mafia stuff without any of the richness in insight. Sopranos, by comparison, and so
Okay.
people are hailing it as
All-time
high
great show.
art. People are hailing it as high art and one of the biggest hits of all time. So I'm going to compare it to another great show in that same genre, in a sense. And Sopranos was one of the best depictions of a family and
Yeah.
about high school culture when you saw the kids and about neighbors. And when you saw Tony Soprano, I just saw a still frame of him the other day on his
But
front porch. And
this was
literally,
meant to be one season.
it depicted Tony Soprano in a way that, like, he looks like the toughest motherfucker on a suburban street
Yeah.
you've ever seen. Like, he might kill you if something goes wrong. And to depict that mafia thing with the juxtaposition of, hey, he's just a suburban dad. That's how those mafia things are in New Jersey
Yeah.
15, 20 years ago. And I hadn't seen anything else like that. And
Mhm.
now this is being compared to that
You
because it's not a
gave it
superhero
up
movie.
after one.
It's a mafia thing, and it's not done nearly as well. And those are my reasons. And I'd love
One
to hear
episode.
people argue otherwise for that.
Also,
And by the way,
Jacob, I'm curious your thoughts
I
on
should
this.
be able to understand all that after an hour of watching it. I don't know
I thought
that
the first
people
episode
are
was
my
really
time.
good, but it gets a lot better. And
Why
the
did you think the first episode was good?
I thought it, but and
Because
maybe
as far as I can see,
expectations
the first
change, because
episode,
we're in this
uh,
era of
oh,
everything's like there's Penguin, House of the Dragon,
right.
Rings of Power,
Lord
like
of the Rings show,
in
yeah.
the sequel spinoff era. We're like basically nothing. I think I saw
No.
something that was like all top 10 movies. There was like something like they are all essentially unoriginal for like the
Yeah,
first time.
and most of it's
And
crap.
everything, we're in this
Yeah,
IP
yeah, we know. Yeah,
spinoff world
yeah.
right now.
Yep.
And most suck. And this was maybe expectations were really low, but this was incredibly refreshing because it was both original, good,
What?
consistent with the movie, but also like it was totally its own. It's supposed to be on par with the next movie, like not be contradictory. Uh, I don't
Why
know.
do you
I
in a
maybe it was
in,
expectations, but I thought it was really good. And you only watched one episode, so it's almost invalid what you're saying.
that's a stretch to me, but okay. So you're saying it gets good after an hour, which, by the way, the first True Detective season, it did take 3 hours, 3 episodes, in my opinion, to get even remotely interesting. So
Really?
yeah, yeah, I didn't find it grabbed me at
Well,
all
episode 3 or 4 is
until
the fucking one of the best
yeah, the
film
combat.
sequences
The
ever.
fourth one is like one of my favorite episodes of anything. But it took until the third episode, the end, where Reggie Ledoux comes
Yeah,
out on his farm in the bayou with the
you have
gas
like a
mask
gas
on,
mat. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and they're this
That's when we
myth
were
that they've been
smoking pot
talking
in the
about.
gas. It was very fitting.
What?
We had a gas mask that we'd smoke in at the time, and so it was a
Might as well
very
be Reggie
fitting.
Ledoux.
Yeah,
With that
underrated
said,
villain. Not talked about enough.
yeah. All right, maybe we don't need to go into why you like the Penguin.
No, but just generally, it just everything is there's so much IP. Like we're uh
And it makes
whether it's
sense. I mean, if you look at the financials of it, like everyone's extremely risk averse now,
right, it's a
especially.
safe bet. It's
It's a
just like
safe bet, but it's not really a safe
it's
bet.
not.
We're talking about it. We're saying it. Most of it sucks. Um,
costs
and
so much money to make.
And I think it was like in the 2010s, there was the interest rates were low, and it didn't matter if Netflix actually made money, just like pump it out. Uh,
right.
Yeah.
and that's changed now. And so like
Now the film industry is in a bit of a recession.
yeah, right,
It's
because
the
it was like all house money.
Yeah. And the pendulum will swing back to an extent. Now is a really weird time. Everyone's like survival 25. But the thing is, like honestly, it provides opportunity for us. Like on the indie side of things, I know Duke's trying to go for more like the majors, but at least on my end, like starting out as actually producing things, putting things together. I went
Yeah,
to the American film market for the first time. This industry, and I'm curious to get your take on all this stuff too, because you're in business. This is a business, whether like artists want to admit it or not. It is a business. It's
yeah,
kind of a shit business, but just because it's way riskier, it's more like going to the casino. Like you got to hedge your bets a little bit. It's not as predictable, but yeah, I mean, I'm seeing more opportunity on the indie side of things because you're seeing the audiences being turned away from this stuff. There's so much money being pumped into these things that they don't want to take these large swings on like original IP. And so,
yeah. And I feel like
especially,
there's
yeah,
an appetite for it. People want
yeah,
to take some swings. I feel like now's the time to like
You know, it's an interesting thing if I'm talking to like actually high level creatives and stuff, like to get their opinion on. It's like, what does taking swings look like to people? Because a
right,
lot
and
of actors
that's
I
a good
talk
point.
to, lame actors will say like, I just want to do something that's like gritty and indie. Because I don't want to be associated with popcorn. Jennifer Lawrence used to say that. She said, at first, I literally didn't want to do anything popcorn film. I just wanted to
Well,
do,
if you grow up being a and doing if you're known for like a series like Hunger Games, I get her itch to
this is pre-Hunger Games. She's saying when she
uh
was coming up, she said no to everything. She wanted to just be an artist. And then now in the same vein of what you were saying, I see your point. Like she probably was a beautiful girl her whole life, maybe associated as just being a bimbo. And then when you get into Hollywood, you're thinking, how can I get some serious roles? how can I get taken seriously, not just for my looks? And
Right.
so she did think like, hey, I need to do something that really shows a side of me that's not just for my looks, whatever.
Or if
Um,
you're like typecast, how do you get out of that? And
yeah.
yeah.
And movie stars are always having to break the mold in their casting, and a lot of times it's butchered, but then
I feel like
sometimes
she's done that. Like you don't think of I don't think of
obviously she's done that.
Hunger
Yeah.
Games with her.
Yeah.
It's different than like
David O. Russell
Emma
helped her with that.
Watson, I think of
Mm.
Harry Potter. Like she's not broken that uh
She broke it a bit too.
a
But
little bit, but like she Jennifer Lawrence has, where like for some other people, you're that iconic thing you got famous for lingers.
right. Nonetheless, first of all, there's worse problems. Secondly, uh
When you're saying
yeah,
big swings, though, I'm thinking more like on the producing side where it's just you're not putting together the perfect package. Like people think studios and producers think by putting the perfect package, which means like a
Check every box.
movie
yeah,
star.
like an example is The Boogeyman that came out 2023. Like it was not a good film. People were I was leaving the theater and like people were complaining. They said it was like the worst movie they've ever seen. But the package was incredible. It was a Stephen King like short story. It was the guys who wrote A Quiet Place. It was
Oh,
like everything, like you're saying, checking off all those boxes, but that doesn't always lead to a great film. But
yeah,
studios are never again, because it costs so much money, they would way rather just hedge their bets.
right. And I
Like,
think like it everything you go and see a movie, it's an hour and a half, and then you go home. And like if the movie didn't do X, Y, or Z, that's fine. Or if it's just focused on one particular thing, or uh I don't know, it's just like things don't have to make perfect sense. Just like do a movie that's I'm trying to think of an example of just like maybe Wedding Crash is a good one where it's like, hey,
Super
these
bad
two
was when
assholes, yeah,
people
they're just like they're doing this and that's what
yeah.
they want, and if you don't like it, like whatever. But I feel like people are overthinking right now, where it just like I think a movie that like maybe didn't have like a ton of narrative sense, but that was funny and did this would like people are fine with that.
no, I know what you mean. I don't to me from kind of outside the business, it seems like it's no worse than it's ever been. Like if you're a big star, you get more leverage and get to take, artistic liberties and try different stuff. And a lot of times they go mad with power and do horrible stuff.
what do you think of the? I feel like we're in this, and Nicole Kidman's probably the poster person, but this mini series era. Uh,
I like it because it's like more to the point.
yeah, and I actually think that's the one thing that's going right is that.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't know. I feel like it depends who's in
Let's
it.
get into
Yeah,
Dragon
drag.
Tattoo.
Let's do it, but I want to make one more point. I think miniseries is going right. I also think horror features, like wide releases, are going right too. Because, and it's not just because I love them and that's what I do, but it's because when you're talking, you're bringing up Breaking Bad and Game of Thrones, these experiences that, and I agree with him, Duke, as far as like I don't think we're going to have the same level of cultural impact with like a singular show like that, or even the
Yeah,
Friends era or whatever. But I think the one area that we still see it, and even not in miniseries, but I think for certain horror feature tentpoles that go out there, like look at Long Legs, look at some of the hype that's built around these. Those are events. And I think those are
yeah.
the only cases, like specifically horror features that are released theatrically.
Did you watch Smile too? Was that
Yeah,
what'd you
You
think?
do?
I thought it was pretty good. It wasn't my favorite, but I thought they did a good job for a sequel.
Nice.
Did you like it?
I didn't watch it. I just
Oh.
thought like, you got a lot of buzz.
People like
Yeah.
made fun of the Smile movies so much. I'm like, let's see where they're coming from. I don't know if that's enough to go a whole movie off of, but like I'm kind of into it.
Yeah.
Terrifier looks kind of gnarlier. Yeah.
Terrifier is a
Did you?
great example of an indie guy just like completely he passed everyone like I think they got the top spot like for 3 weeks in a row or something crazy.
Wow.
Also, last thing before we start, did you watch Gladiator or Wicked?
Yeah, I saw Gladiator too.
How was it?
Have any of you guys seen it?
I heard it was kind of mid, but
Okay. Um, Yeah, so I saw it the other day, ran. I had time to kill in between work, and I was like, you know what? I'll fucking see it. Like sequels tend to be they can fall in a lot of traps. I
Right.
read some reviews, liked it, some
Like
reviews
good cast. Yeah.
didn't. Epic cast, but basically like a all-star cast of stars, Denzel Washington, Paul Mescal, who's like I saw him in the TV show
Pedro.
Normal People, and he's super just really capable actor, like really detailed, interesting, like nuanced material of Normal People was, I thought, a love story about two college kids at Trinity College Dublin. And I liked the show because it was like hyper realistic. I liked even just the backdrop of Dublin, Ireland. I'd never really seen anything on that, and kind of showing like the air of sophistication bullshit in college and stuff a little bit too, especially like at an Ivy League school like that for the UK and stuff. And like, dude, he was an interesting character, beloved book, teen drama stuff, and then Daisy Edgar Jones, the girl too, is fantastic. Like so
So
fun.
this is in the Gladiator.
So Paul Mescal is now like the biggest young actor. He's right there with Austin Butler, Timothy Chalamet, etc. Guess Gladiator 2. You got Denzel Washington in it. You got the girl that was a love interest from the first one. She's in this one too. She's brilliant in the first one, of course. No Russell Crowe. Um, and there's a couple
Did
other.
he was he approached? Did he turn that down?
I don't know. That's not the biggest deal to me necessarily. It seems so obvious that he wouldn't be in the second one. His character, however, because he died in the first. However, if they
Oh,
wanted to pull that out, whatever, it's the magic of Hollywood. That being said, Ridley Scott directed. So I saw it, bro. It was as you'd expect, a bastardization of a story. As the first one, in my opinion, one of my favorites. Not saying that in the past I would have said, "Hey, my favorite movie is Gladiator," but the truth be told, you're a fly on the wall of ancient Rome in that movie, and it's mind blowing. Yet you're watching everything unfold beautifully. Russell Crowe, it feels earned as this general of a time that we hadn't seen in hundreds of years, and you learn something, and it's fascinating, and the stakes are so intense. Um, Big fan, big fan. This one, it felt like they didn't need to make it. The story was just so typical, corny of like coming back for revenge type thing. I don't even
right.
know why we went along with this main character. Every movie star was just doing the movie star thing and felt like it was like under a microscope and like they were all self-conscious acting. It was nothing subtle or like you were a fly on the wall. It was all just contrived. The Ridley Scott's known for cinematography, but it was everything was very awkward, one shot close up on the star, one shot close up on the other star.
And
Just
that's so emblematic of like other stuff. And it's like, is it a lack of self-awareness or like I feel like we could like be a consulting firm and be like,
yeah.
this is way too much this.
I
And
like I will give a compliment. They got to the point in the movie quickly, which a lot of movies tend to be flat and stagnant.
right.
It was just it just felt uninspired that you didn't need to keep watching the story. It was all the little characters too were all just typical tropes and stuff. With all that said and done, that's my take. I'm happy for people to disagree. I just want to hear their reasons when they do.
No, I
What
didn't
do
watch
you?
it. I saw Wicked. That was actually good.
It was
Uh
a huge hit. Funny. Okay.
We
All
got
right.
7 minutes for Dragon Tattoo.
Yeah. Dragon Hair 2, baby.
You start, TJ. What do you think?
I
Okay. No, I'm gonna start. Sorry, I've been talking a
take
lot.
it.
What brought us to Dragon Tattoo? We're talking about movies that inspire us. We were just saying at the beginning, like, what is interesting to watch? David Fincher, he's known for keeping movies entertaining the whole time. I think he's done some duds. But Gone Girl, Dragon Tattoo, Social Network, Seven, way back when. People love Fight Club. I didn't love Fight Club as
All of
much.
those have a pace to them that I like.
Have a
Let's
pace.
interrupt you.
And they're shocking and detailed and
Yeah.
have a feeling of sort of like when they are shocking in the movies, it feels more tasteful to me. Like I like Fincher's sensibilities. When he shows something that's kind of like different, I'm like, that feels sophisticated and really worldly and heavy with weight to it. Um, it brings the best out of actors. They do so many takes in each thing. We all
Right.
also watched behind the scenes of it. His movies look like they're amazing to shoot because he does so many takes. It's so, and they go so into rehearsal and the psychology Jacob and I talk about acting a lot, like style and stuff, or how to do your best. And Jacob, didn't you notice in the behind the scenes, there's a lot of like Fincher, yeah, he'd give line readings and he'd say it's like, kind of like this, but he'd bring it into the world. He'd be like, you just heard the newscaster say this thing, and already you're thinking about you have an idea because of that. And that's why you're gonna go call this person. He's always, it's just you get more and more immersed in the
Circumstance.
world,
Yeah, that's it. That's exactly what I saw too. Um,
right?
yeah.
It's a
What do you
good
think?
reminder that like so much happens uh in I think about this in the context of like House of the Dragon season 2, but the writer strike, but just like how much like changes once you're filming, like or like once or someone
Yeah,
auditioning, take it that
yeah.
way. But just like the original
Takes on a
vision
shape of its
changes,
own.
someone does something a certain way, and it's like, oh, that's great. And
Yeah.
I forget the name of the lead actress, but just like what a coincidence it was that she got this, and just like
You
how
have,
much.
real quick, so we got 4 minutes. You guys want to do like 10 more minutes after this?
Yeah,
I really want to go into the plot line of Dragon Tattoo and discuss like why it was so good.
Sure.
Sorry. Okay.
It'll kick
I
us off. When it does, let's just jump back on.
I'm
Sweet.
into it.
Cool.
Oh, what were you saying, TJ, about how Rooney Mara even got it?
Well, yeah, she like in the video was talking about how
It was a strenuous audition process.
yeah, but just again, like how much of these like iconic things sometimes are just so random once you
Yeah,
learn the facts
sure.
after, and just like that's a part of the process, and just like so much different subject, but just like funny comedies are that were just kind of improv or like this worked, so we took it this way, but just like not the original like script necessarily or the person they had in mind for that role, and just like how much is just
Serendipitous.
yeah,
Um,
You got to be able to ride that balance as a director between like having a very specific vision that everyone can kind of fall in line and believe in, but at the same time being flex enough to allow those moments to happen.
right.
And that's the most fun. I fucking love that in between place of that.
Jacob, what was your first impression of the movie? Coming back to it.
So I had seen it before. I loved I enjoyed this more than like my memory of what it was.
Nice.
Um, I thought the pacing in particular was incredible. I
Right.
thought that the shots that like I'm looking at it as a director, I thought the shots that he picked were not like simplistic, but very efficient. Like he didn't
Love that.
have, he knew exactly how these things were going to be pieced together, and he didn't have like some unnecessary like insert of something that didn't. Everything was very tactful. Like it just felt
And yet art, yet artistic and kind of not mundane at all.
yeah, it wasn't like vanilla. It wasn't shot
Weird
just like
shots. Weird
yeah,
shots. They get coverage from
exactly.
everything. Yeah, they got a lot
That
off.
weird creative shots, but like in an efficient way.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I
That's
really
what I
enjoyed.
appreciate. Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the pacing because like it's similar with other movies he has, where like normally there's like a drag.
Mm.
What would you say, like 30 minutes into a normal movie, but there's like a
Midpoint tends to
beat
get
to
jet
his that like
movies.
keeps you engaged, kind of at the point where like, oh, I need to pee, or it's like
Yeah.
or just like a yeah, that like there's I don't really know how to describe it, but like he uh in a couple movies, there's just like a beat and a tempo and a pace that uh is not like the typical script of a movie of like first 30 minutes this,
Mhm.
Yeah.
next 30 this, final
Yeah.
30 this.
Mhm.
Uh yeah, it's just different. You don't see it very often. So
Totally.
Yeah.
Couple of my favorite moments were when Daniel Craig was strung up. The way that pacing worked with suddenly he's lifted up and then the bag is on him. It was really it's almost like melodic, like the way that he. Another moment I loved was when she first came in to that room, like the boardroom with the guy. And our introduction to her, and
Yeah.
obviously and this was the one scene that I remembered from my first watch too, but like the whole uh fucking thing with the
Great.
rapists and all that stuff was
I have to fast
crazy.
forward by that. Yeah.
Yeah, really sticks with you. Like
so
really.
had Daniel Craig done any Bond movies at this point?
Yeah.
I
Yeah. He
think he
would have
had,
gotten
yeah.
this if he hadn't. Yeah.
So he's having like a moment at this point.
Yeah, and it was brilliant that he lucked into this because I don't think he would have lasted like he did if he hadn't gotten something like this. Just from
No,
Bond.
I mean, I'm trying to think outside of Bond.
So
And
I really want to unpack it real quick with Jacob especially, but we're probably about to get kicked off. But um yeah,
he's in The Force Awakens. Sorry, I'm looking at his IMDb.
I don't doubt it.
He's a stormtrooper.
He does
It
everything.
seems a little beneath him.
Was that like way before?
No,
No.
this The Force Awakens is 2015.
He's an actor's actor, Daniel Craig. So he likes to just like
He's
work
an
with it.
A-lister at this point, doing a
Yep.
uncredited
Yeah.
stormtrooper. Maybe so. I think some people are just big fans
Yeah.
of like
Zach
certain things.
Braff played a character